fascinating day's play. 3:39 for 5. Steve Smith 85 not out. Travis Head made 77. Joe Root took those 2 wickets in an over, which just rather changed the thrust of it a bit. And Michael Vaughan's looking thoughtful down there. Glenn McGrath is also with me. Michael, what are your thoughts on that first day then?
Australia's England not sharp enough. England have got this approach to the game of Test match cricket that's quite casual. They create this kind of culture and this environment of fun. They talk the talk, and some of the messages, in particularly after the loss at Edgbaston, was very positive. Almost like England had won that first Test match. They hadn't, they'd lost. Young players coming out with bold statements. I was always told to say nothing in an Ashes series. Don't give the media any headlines whatsoever. And the casual approach, I have to say, today they brought it out into the middle. If you're going to talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk. And their sharpness when you get a wicket, you get David Warner out, key moment in the game. Josh Tongue, who I thought was the best bowler for England today, just that extra pace. You get David Warner out, and then Steve Smith walks out there, and within 15 balls he's got to 25 because they've just bowled utter dross, just allowed him to get going with no kind of real kind of tension out in the middle. It all looked very casual.
How much hostility?
There was nothing. There was an early moment in the day when the drizzle came and England went off the field. Bear in mind they'd won a good toss and it was beautiful for bowling, and we all thought it was going to do a lot more than it did. It didn't do a great deal, but you've still got great bowling conditions. The lights are on, the clouds are low, the drizzle comes, England go off. They're then coming back on, and I see 2 batters waiting to come out before the England fielders are coming out. Now that gives me an indication that there's just a little bit too much casualness about this England side. This is the Ashes. You can be as casual as you like against many other sides, but I'm afraid this is when it matters. Against Australia, this is what defines you. This is what we'll all talk about in a few years' time. And we won't be talking about an England side unless they switch on quickly. And now they've given themselves an uphill task, a huge task of coming back into this Test match. Because I've seen enough out there from quick bowling in terms of Josh Tongue that when I see Cameron Green, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, Mitchell Starc, and that's before Nathan Lyon gets the ball in his hand. England's Baz bowlers will be challenged hugely when they get the opportunity to bat tomorrow. And I have to say that they've just not had that game-ready mentality. This is the Ashes. Playing in, I don't know what Glenn would say, but playing in an Ashes, it's actually not that enjoyable. You enjoy it at the end when you've won. When you're actually in the hotbed of the tension of the game, it's stressful because it's tension and you've got so many people watching you and you don't want to make mistakes and you want to make sure that you're on and you're performing. It's actually a draining process. I just get a sense from this England side, and I'm sure they're drained, it's hard work being out, but I just get a sense that it's like, well, it's just another game of cricket. The Ashes is not just another game of cricket. I'm sorry, it's not. And I want to see a little bit more oomph, a little bit more, I don't want to see them talking to the Aussies. Talk to them at the end of July. When the Ashes are done and dusted, get them in the dressing room at the Oval and have a chat. I don't want to see conversations between England and Australia during the game. I might be a bit old school, but I just don't want to see it. There's enough time away from the game to go and have those conversations. It's all too friendly, and England might just pay this week for that kind of mentality.
Go on then, Glenn, the Aussie perspective.
Well, I agree with a lot of what Vaughnie said. This day and age with IPL and everyone's played with each other. In the old days, you played for your country, played against other countries, and now they all know each other. And when you see the bowler walking down the wicket, got his arm around the batsman, having a laugh and chat, I go, what are they doing? But the intensity out there by England. You mentioned you had Dave Warner and Usman Khawaja downstairs ready to come out in the field, and I look up and there's Ben Stokes up on the boundary. He's got his feet up on the balcony still. So, I think just lacked a little bit of intensity. I think Australia are up for this battle. That was a great comeback win in Edgbaston, and it means a lot to them. And Test cricket, this is Test cricket.
But I guess the reality of this England side is over the last year and a half, they've been great to watch, and they've won some good series. They've beaten New Zealand, they've beaten during that one-off game last year, beat South Africa, went to Pakistan. It's not easy winning in Pakistan, even against the Pakistan side that aren't the great Pakistan side. Go to New Zealand to get the draw, and it's been great. But ultimately, the reality will kick in tomorrow morning, because the truth will hurt tomorrow. Because I don't know many that will be writing that England had a good day. Yeah. And they might have to wake up and realise that people are starting to go, OK, you're talking a lot, but we actually want to see performance, particularly when it matters. Doing it against some of the other countries, there's not as much pressure as the Ashes. When the Ashes arrive. Now is the time to deliver, and they've got such an uphill task tomorrow to come back in, because Australia played great. You know, with the bat in hand, particularly Khawaja and David Warner, to set the tone. When you get sent out there as an opening pair and you're expecting the ball to do all sorts, your job is to send a message back to that balcony. Do you know what? It's all right out here.
Yeah.
And they play with such calmness.
They left the ball.
Yeah,
well.
correct. And they played with control. And I think they sent the Aussie balcony a message after about 15, 20 minutes. It's all right out here, don't worry. You know, Warner played a punch off. I think it was Jimmy Anderson early through extra cover. And I think when you see David Warner playing those kind of strokes, I think the balcony would have gone, yeah, that's all right out there. We can all bat with a little bit of confidence. But, you know, I look at Sumo, when Smith came out there, they bowled so badly to him. And then Travis Head, I know he's an aggressive player, but with inside the first 6 or 7 balls, he's got 2 short wide ones. England have just got the ball swinging around, and you have to capitalise. And they are the moments in Ashes cricket you have to win. You have to win those first 20 minutes when the batter goes out there. Make their life a misery. I just thought it was just too easy for the batters coming out there to get going. The field obviously had to spread because the ball started to travel. England just weren't at the races, you know, and just Josh Tong was the stand-up because he's got pace.
Yep.
And I'm going to be intrigued to see those 4 quicks of Australia bowl on that wicket. And let's be honest, that's a harder wicket to bat on than Edgbaston was. Edgbaston was a lot easier from what we can see to what this has been today. And those 4 quicks and Nathan Lyon will make it very, very difficult for the Baz bowlers to Baz ball.
Yeah. What about Steve Smith? It's interesting because he did get away to that good start. And then it seemed to me as if he suddenly thought, actually, it's not too bad out here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get in, and I'm going to get a big 100 here. And then he just played from that moment on, really, just batted.
Yeah. Well, he wants it. He wants to be out there. He wants to be in the battle. He seemed a lot more focused today. He's back to his old moving around, well on off stump and even outside and working to the leg stump. But he just seemed focused. He seemed switched on. I think when he walked out, he stopped and looked up and felt like, today's my day. I missed out last Test match. I got runs in the World Test Championship. I want to get runs here at Lords. And it's that intensity. And I'm a little bit different to Varney. I love that pressure at Test cricket, and that's why I played. The hard, tough day. That's the days you want to play and come up against the best and do well. And if you come out on top, you go, well, actually, I'm going okay here. And it just lacked a bit of intensity. But the Australians seemed like they wanted it more. The way Warner came out, there was a couple of sort of iffy shots to start with. I'm not sure where they came from, but whether that was just releasing a bit of pressure, with his battle with Stuart Broad. And after that, he looked like he was switched on and did well. So, it's the Australians had more intensity. England bowlers were not consistent enough. Flat.
England have got a, and I'm sure they'll be in that dressing room and they'll know that they're up against an Australian side that have got a lot of players that have never won here.
Yeah.
They've got some great players in that dressing room, Australia, that have never, ever won in English conditions. Yep. And they have got the bit between their teeth. You can see it in their eyes when they warm up. You can see when you have conversations with them. They are so focused.
Yeah, very much.
And they know that this is a great opportunity to do something special. The teams that Glenn McGrath played in used to win here all the time. These players have not experienced that. They've not experienced winning it. They drew in 2019. They were the better team and they should have won that, but they didn't. So the likes of Smith, Labuschagne, Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood, Pat Cummins, Lyon, real high-class quality cricketers, David Warner, they've never won here. So this England side, they better start smelling the roses because this Aussie team aren't going to go away. We all felt that Edgbaston, the Aussies weren't quite at the best, but they won. And they were always going to get better because that's what quality teams do. They've had that great win against India. They then played iffy against England at Edgbaston, but won. And you feel that when they come here to Lords, there's something. Glenn will be able to tell you more. The Australians seem to lift when they come here. Yeah. They like playing at Lords. And that moment when Smith came down those stairs and he went through the gate, and I've never seen him do it before, and he got to the boundary row and he almost just took a pause. Yes, and he just stood there and he looked around and the crowd booed him. I don't understand why they did that, but he just stood there and looked around and he went, this is for me.
Because it goes back to that great rivalry that is the Ashes, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the home of cricket, and for any Australian cricketer to come here who knows the history of the Ashes and has revelled in all that, this is the moment, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. The history of the game between our two countries, that's what it's about. And Test cricket is still the ultimate. And I love Bazball. I like the aggression. I like the attitude. I like backing yourself. But you still have to have respect for the game and respect for your performance and intensity and what it stands for, and go out there. And when it's tough, play tough. When it's easy and you're playing the shots and it's all... that's great. But those tough moments, that's when the true champions stand up. And that's what England needs here over the next 4 days. Because if they don't play well this test match and they lose 2-0 down, I don't think there's any way back for England after that.
Are we possibly seeing another side of Bazball here, which is the relaxed, everything's nice and easy and everything else, music in the nets and stuff, that actually the practice might not be that intensive, that there are these no balls that are being bowled now? That's a lack of discipline.
It's casual.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the word, really.
Yeah, it's casual.
On the one hand, it's a positive thing with the way that you're playing and your mind is clear and it's positive, but just away from what you're seeing on there is the rest of it, off playing golf and stuff.
Well, I would look at the England one-day team. So they started to play this expansive way, but I tell you what, when it mattered, they were switched on. To win a World Cup in 2019, what Owen Morgan did with that side was make them into this free spirit, this batting lineup that could go and smack the ball to all parts, and the consequences were if you got out playing aggressively, it didn't matter. So they created a culture, but I tell you what, when they're out in the field and it mattered, the England white ball team, they switch on. And this test team, this is the challenge. The challenge is always when you play Australia. And I looked at a side today, particularly in the morning session, and you've won a big toss. You have to be switched on. You have to win that opening hour. You have to win the opening session. And they didn't, and it was because of casualness. They're just casual, the drop chance, again, not a 100% catch. From Ollie Pope, you don't expect 100 out of 100, but you expect 90 out of 100. He should be taking it. Joe Root, low down to his right, it's a tough chance, but the kind of chances that Cameron Green's been taking. They take those chances, Australia, and it's brutal and it's reality, and it's harsh to criticise, but the reality of an Ashes series, those are the things that make the difference.
Yeah.
When you have to be switched on, and when Australia needed to win certain moments of the day today, just like that last half an hour when Alex Carey, he knew he had to win that half an hour. He looked completely committed to making sure he went out and played in a sensible way and was there not out at the end, and he won that moment for his team.
Let's talk about those 2 wickets of Joe Root's. Glenn, because that was unexpected. I mean, Head coming down and having he's got 70 odd, it's the way he plays and so on, but it was a bit of a hack, to be honest. And then Green, I mean, that was a horrible shot.
Well, it was, and Travis said, I think he came down well before Joe Root even let the ball go, and then threw the kitchen sink at it, and it was a bit of a horrid shot, and. Yeah, he was aggressive. Him and Steve Smith over that 20-over period put on nearly 120 runs. So the scoreboard was ticking over. They were positive, and that's the way he plays. And he probably would be berating himself in there. But Cameron Green comes out, gets a short ball, and tries to put it away. And all he does is manage to half hit it to mid-off. So he would be pretty disappointed. It's about getting yourself in, and then looking to play the shots to the ball that's bowled. It was just the wrong shot too early, and he'd be pretty disappointed.
Last one for you, Michael. As we always say, big hour tomorrow. They've got the new ball. They've got Smith to get rid of. I mean, they can get back into this. Yeah,
they can, but I worry about it. I have to be honest. I've seen enough out there in terms of movement. The odd ball's kept low as well, and there's a bit of spin. And I'm intrigued. First and foremost, they're going to get 5 weeks, so they're going to have to be sharper in the field. They can't allow any more chances to go. With the bat in hand against this quality Australian seam attack, I'm going to be intrigued to see how the expansive nature of particularly the top 3 who are under pressure are going to cope with that real quality seam bowling attack, because I do think this pitch there'll be times when it's flat, but I do think it'll get a little bit harder over the next few days. And I worry about England, because it's very, very difficult at this level to suddenly switch on. And I've just seen too much casualness. In the last 2 test matches, England played okay at Edgbaston, but didn't win. At times when they had to win certain moments, they switched off at Edgbaston. And again today, when it's really mattered at the key moments, England haven't been switched on quick enough and hard enough to win that moment, and it's cost them.
Thank you, Michael. Some forthright views there, as always. Thank you for those. Let's hear from Josh Tongue. He claimed the first 2 wickets of the day. He's been talking to Alison Mitchell.
Well, a couple of really important wickets for this man. Josh, well bowled today. Given the conditions early up, though, did the pitch do a little bit less than you were expecting?
I think turning up to the game today, obviously a green top, overcast conditions. I thought we bowled really well as a unit that first hour. There's a lot of playing misses. I thought that they could have been easily 4 or 5 down at lunch, and obviously getting that wicket before lunch was crucial.
Warner, Khawaja, which wicket was your favourite?
I'd say both. I was speaking to Robbie on the field. He's like trying to get it back down the slope, and that one, the first ball in the last over before lunch, luckily it got through the inside edge and hit the bail.
Did it actually break the stump, the ball that dismissed David Warner?
Yeah, top of the stump. Yeah, I don't know if they replaced it, but it was the top of the stump.
An Ashes debut for you. You played here at Lord's already, but what was it like when you knew you were actually going to be taking the field in an Ashes test?
Yeah, 2 days ago when Baz told us in the huddle saying the squad and I was announcing that, it was just a surreal moment for myself. Very proud moment to be in an Ashes team and series. Always wanted to be in an Ashes series, so it's very proud.
Were there any nerves second time around playing in a test match, given that?
I think there's a lot more nerves than the Ireland test, I'd say. Just the big occasion, Ashes at Lord's, like just walking through the long room was a very special thing, and I'm never going to forget it.
What did you have to do today on this pitch to try and tease out wickets? And obviously Joe Root took 2 in 1 over, which really helped you towards the back end of the day. Yeah,
it really helped Rooty getting those 2 wickets towards the end. I felt like I got more out of the wicket when I tried to hit the pitch, and trying to use the slope as much as I can. Obviously we tried the short ball stuff with Head, and obviously got a few away, but it was good to get in.
There were a couple of disruptions for rain earlier in the day. There was also a disruption for a protester. What was it like being out in the middle when that happened?
Well, it's fair. I didn't see it at first, but yeah, Johnny doing what he did. I think if he didn't do that, who knows where the game could be now? It could have been called off. I don't know.
I mean, do you get briefed on sort of what to do if a protester comes onto the field?
It's fair. It's never happened to me, so I haven't really thought about it once. To be fair.
Did it make you feel unsettled in any way after that had happened?
I think it did a bit, to be fair, because obviously all the things that's been going on in the world with all the protesters, it was quite a weird time for myself.
But what was everyone saying to Johnny afterwards?
Bit of a hero, to be fair, because obviously if he didn't stop him, who knows, they could have got on the pitch, could have done something badly to the pitch, and who knows where the game could be now.
He went off to change his shirt, didn't he? Do you know why he needed to do that? Or
I don't know if I don't know what the stuff they had. Was it powder? I'm not too sure, but I think he got some powder on his shirt, I think.
So just to clear that up.
Yeah. Definitely.
Overall feeling then, position of the game, only 5 down, having won the toss and put the opposition in. What are you going to have to do tomorrow to, dismiss Steve Smith first of all?
Well, I think the new ball's crucial. The first 30 minutes, I'd say, to make sure you're hitting that good line and length. Obviously, the ball's still doing a tiny bit, but I think we're just trying to stay patient as we can, and hopefully we get those wickets to come.
Well done today for 2 wickets. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Yeah, lovely ball from which he bowled David Warner. Have a look at that on the website. Andy Zoltzman, what can you unearth?
Well, let's start with Josh Tongue. He bowled out both Australian openers. He's the first England bowler to hit the stumps of both Australian openers in the same innings since John Snow in 1968 at Headingley, the first to do so at Lord's since Ted Peat in 1884. So a rare achievement for him. But it was a good day for Australia, and it started with that opening stand. 7 of the last 9 Lord's tests, a wicket has fallen within the first 5 overs of the start of the game. It was the second longest opening stand in the last 27 tests on this ground. 7 of the last 10 times a team batting first has gone in Lord's. They've been bowled out for under 185. So 339 for 5. Here's something ominous, Aggers. 52 times at Lord's, the team batting first has made 350 or more, and they have won 29 and lost only 2 with 21 draws. So it's looking a little worrying for England already.
Thanks, Andy. Let's hear from the Australia camp then. And Marnus Labuschagne made 47. He's been speaking to Alison.
Well, plenty of runs on the board for Australia today. Marnus, when you're asked to bat today, what was the overall feeling in the dressing room?
It was one of those days where I sort of prepared myself to bat. It was just one of those days, green wicket, overcast conditions. There was nothing sure that we're going to lose the toss today and be sent in. So, obviously to finish today, 5 for 350, 340. A great day for us. I think we're probably a little bit disappointed that we didn't finish the day off 3 down, which we had the opportunity to. But, you're going to take that on a day one overcast, bowl the whole day with lights on.
How tough or otherwise was it? I mean, did you expect the ball to be nipping much more than it did?
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of play what's out there when you get out there. Obviously, it was swinging. There was a lot of swing, but not too much seam movement. But one thing with Lords here, if there is a bit of swing, you can always create angles with the slope. So with, coming down the slope, you can always create an angle if you're swinging the ball in and then getting it to go down the slope. So you don't always need as much seam movement here with the slope. That's just what I found in the time that I've played here.
Strong partnership with Steve Smith. Again, you've got such a good record batting together. How enjoyable was it? At Lords as well?
Yeah, it was. It sort of happened pretty quickly. He came out and he lifted my energy a little bit because he came out so positive, and then I sort of fed off that. And that's when you know when you have a good partnership with someone where you can feed off each other and sort of your game improves because they're playing well. And that's kind of just what I needed at that time. I was getting a little bit stabby and a bit, defensive, and he sort of just opened the game up a little bit and freed me up as well.
You're at a very different stage to your career this Ashes than you were in 2019 when you walked out at Lords as a concussion sub for Steve Smith. What are your memories of that day?
Yeah, I sort of watched a bit of the footage of that innings I played here and just sort of have a recap of how I played, and it always brings back special memories. When you watch back some footage and you see how you went about it and how the game unfolded. But yeah, it's always very special. I mean, to sort of be the first to come in here as a concussion sub at Lords of all places, it always holds a special place in my heart.
Given your track record and against England as well, I mean, is there a little bit of a frustration yet? You haven't quite been able to get up to the 50 mark today, for example.
Yeah, for me it's just more about the process. I think I've got no doubt the results will come at the back end of this series. I'm very confident in that. But for me, it's just about, was my process good today? And the disappointing part for me from the first test was my process wasn't as good as I would have liked. And so that's what I review when I sit there. I don't look at the result and go, I've got 2 low scores. I look at it and go, I pride myself on having very good processes, being very consistent in my method, in the way I go about the game, being very methodical about how they're bowling and the decisions and the changes I make to my game. So that's why I was disappointed, and that's why I worked really hard this week on making sure to make those changes so I could make better decisions. But yeah, the runs will come. I've got no doubt in that. It's just a matter of helping out today. Obviously today I didn't get the big one, but Travis and Steve obviously batted exceptionally well.
Yeah, it still
and Dave, sorry.
Yeah, it still makes such a difference, doesn't it, with Travis Head coming in and scoring as quickly as he does when you've got Steve Smith the other end who's still accumulating.
Yeah, I was still reviewing my dismissal and I looked up and we were clapping Travis Head's 50. So he just, he's an absolute entertainer. The way he goes about the game, he's gone to another level in the last year or so. So he's a pretty special player to watch.
I have to ask you about an unusual occurrence out in the middle today when protesters came on. What was going through everyone's mind watching? I
was just hoping Johnny put a bigger hit on the guy, to be honest. I was hoping for a bit more of a rugby tackle there, but he was quite generous with him and just picked him up and marched him off. I didn't see what the shirt said or anything, but it's obviously not ideal, to come and spoil it for everyone. I'm not sure what the protest was about or anything like that, but luckily Dave and Stokesy had the one end covered, and Johnny scared him off down this end and just marched them off. So it was always good to create a little bit of fun, so it was all right.
Was it unsettling in any way?
I mean, certainly not for me. I wasn't out there. I was just getting up. I was like, I want to be out there to help out, but no, not at all for me. And I think, Uzi is so relaxed. I don't think anything really phases him. It just looked like he got straight back in his bubble and then off he went.
Yeah. Tomorrow then, just about accumulating more runs?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a great position. We scored pretty quick today, 240, 340. If we can have these two start really well tomorrow and then kick that score up to 450, 500, that would be ideal. But we're not sure what tomorrow's going to hold in terms of the weather, the conditions. But we just got to make sure we start well tomorrow, and then when we come out with the ball, just be ruthless.
Good luck for that.
Thank you very much.